Now then, Vinyl Monkey again, 1976, and I'm going to continue with the splitting it up into North American or North and Central America and Britain and Europe. For this one, I might combine it for the next one, but I'm still going to do it for this one, and I'm going to change tack slightly. In that I'm going to do the North American one first. The reason for that is it just seems this was a much better year, a much stronger year in North and Central America than it was in Britain, at least if you go by this record collection here. Loads of really strong albums in 1976 coming out of North and Central America, and I've got a dozen here in my hand that didn't make my top 10, that I think any of these probably would have been in the British top 10. Tom Waits' Small Change, sort of one of the last of his sort of barfly type albums. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Reaching for the World, brilliant. This is David Ebo's just replaced Pendergrass as singer, and what a singer he is. Some brilliant stuff on that. Waylon Jennings, Are You Ready for the Country? I love Waylon Jennings, and this is Waylon goes a bit sort of rocky on this one, and it's a great album. It kicks off with Neil Young's Are You Ready for the Country? Willie Nelson, The Sound in Your Mind. Yeah, not Willie's strongest, but I mean, I just love Willie Nelson. I love all the stuff he does. Great stuff. Harry Nilsson, Sandman. I mean, they reckon Nilsson had gone well off the rails. He'd gone absolutely loco by the time this came out, but it still shows what a great songwriter and singer he was. Steely Dan, The Royal Scam, I was certain this would have been in the top 10. I mean, it's just a brilliant, slick meld of blues, jazz, soul and rock. You know, very slick, very clever stuff. Didn't make me top 10. Love Is All Around by Eric Burdon and War. I love this album. The reason I haven't put it in my top 10 is because all the songs on here, although it was released in 76, it's really a collection of songs from sort of 5 or 6 years earlier, so it's a little bit of a compilation album, I suppose, so I haven't put it in. Eddie Kendrick's Going Up in Smoke. Nice stuff, great singer, all good songs on here, a bit overproduced, a bit too much brass maybe, but yeah, good stuff. Isaac Hayes, I do love Isaac Hayes. This is a real tacky, sleazy album. I won't open the cover up, it shows you basically pictures of Isaac Hayes in 6 naked women in a swimming pool, but this is Juicy Fruit Disco Freak. Isaac Hayes goes disco. Not always successful, but still got the brilliant Isaac Hayes arrangements. Detroit Spinners, Happiness is the Detroit Spinners, another great Philly soul band. And then Nice and Slow, Jesse Green. Jesse Green, who was a reggae star, goes into soul, and the brilliant title track, Nice and Slow, lovely stuff. Talented guy as well, but so there were some of them that didn't make me top 10. So what did? Well, at number 10, and just to sneak some in, I couldn't separate these, and they're two oddball ones, so I'll put them together. This is joint number 10, and my first one is Bobby Womack. BW goes C and W. Bobby Womack goes country and western. And this is, this record was universally slated by his own record company, trying to persuade him not to put it out. I mean, originally he wanted to put it out with a different title, which was Stand Aside, Charlie Pride, Give Another Nigger a Try. So they were successful in persuading him to change the title, but they tried to get him not to put the album out, but they failed. The critics universally panned it, and his fans generally didn't buy it. It was a commercial flop as well, but I absolutely love it. This is Bobby Womack singing country and western straight ahead. He's not trying to change it into R&B or soul or anything. He's got a brilliant band behind him who are playing it straight. And the thing is, it's just his voice. I mean, I would buy a record of Bobby Womack reading the telephone directory, as they say. I love his singing voice, and he sings these great songs. including Charlie Richards' Behind Closed Doors. He sings them absolutely beautifully, so I love it. Never mind the critics or the record companies. What do they know? Bobby Womack goes country and western. Joint number 10, another oddball one. This is Merle Haggard, the Hag. I love Merle, I've got loads of his albums here, but this one's an odd one. It's called My Love Affair with Trains, and yeah, this is an album for train spotters, and this is Merle Haggard celebrating, if you like, the birth and development and bemoaning the decline of the railways in the US, and it's genuine, heartfelt stuff. It always is with Merle Haggard, isn't it? Delivered brilliantly, some great songs, including some by himself, and he introduces each song with a little bit of context and history and stuff, and it sounds really corny and geeky, but for me it works. It's a really, really good album. He genuinely loved trains. He apparently, before he died, he had one of the world's biggest model railways in his house. But anyway, again, an odd one, but my joint number 10, Merle Haggard, My Love Affair with Trains. My number 9, this is the Tavares, the 5 Tavares brothers, most of them were born in the Cape Verde Islands, and this is their move from Northern Soul to disco. This is Sky High. Gorgeous singing, beautiful harmonies, and it includes the almost perfect Heaven Must Be Missing an Angel, and the other top single off this one, Don't Take Away the Music. But from beginning to end, just a great soul disco album, very slick, very polished, very talented brothers. Tavares, my number 9. My number 8, this is Jackson Browne, The Pretender. I think this was Browne's 4th album, and it's a bit more lushly, sort of poppily produced than his first 3 albums. But despite that doesn't detract from the quality of his songwriting, and the quality of his voice, frankly, is still absolutely top notch. And I think there's only one track that I'm not keen on here, Linda Paloma it's called. It's a little bit of a sort of calypso type thing. Doesn't really fit or work very well, I don't think, but apart from that, really, really strong songs. My number 8, Jackson Browne, The Pretender. My number 7 from 1976, I thought I would have had this one higher. This is the Ramones' debut album, and you know, those first couple of notes, Blitzkrieg Bop, the opening track, they just hit you, and they just remind me of the birth of punk, which was a real landmark, I suppose, in my in my listening to music history. It really struck me very, very significantly, and the Ramones were right at the front of this. But you know, there are how many? 14 songs on here. The whole album's only 28 minutes long. Lots of them are less than 2 minutes, and there must be a maximum of 3 chords. There's not a song with more than 3 chords, definitely not. But I've got to say, this is pretty dumb shit. You know, I mean, it's great. It's back to basics. It's back to how, I suppose, the feeling when rock and roll was born. It just really, really strikes you, and it's great. And I think there's nothing wrong with dumb shit, except that, you know, when I say dumb shit, I mean really, really dumb lyrics. And I think that's okay if you're singing about love or cars or surfing in the Beach Boys case, or dancing or rocking out or whatever. But when you start sort of edging on Nazism or domestic violence, there's sort of airs into in 1 or 2 of the songs on here, then it just irks a bit with me. So it's down on my list a bit. An important album, an influential album, a great album. I could listen to the opening track, Blitzkrieg Bop, just over and over again. You know, if I listen to, I don't listen to music on digital, I don't suppose, but on phones and things. But if I did, you know, I could put that on repeat happily for 28 minutes and not listen to some of the the dafter ones on here. But anyway, that's the Ramones. The Ramones debut album, self-titled. My number 6, what an album this is. This is the Eagles, Hotel California. And for me, this is the best Eagles album. It's my favourite Eagles album. It's a bit rockier, less country, more rocky than some of the others. The title track, as everyone who's watching this will know, is an absolute classic. But all of them are great, but all of side one particularly. Side one is one of those classic sides of vinyl. It's just great from beginning to end there. Yeah, so that's my number 6, the Eagles, Hotel California. My number 5, 1976, I suppose, was pretty much in the middle of Stevie Wonder's classic period, so-called classic period. The whole of the 70s, Stevie Wonder, just one after another, just about every year, brought out an absolutely brilliant album. This was no exception. This is a double album, Songs in the Key of Life. It's not one of my favourite Stevie Wonder albums. It's when I rated my Stevie Wonder classics, and I'm just reminding myself, I had it down as number 5 or 6 or something, and that's where I've got it in this list as well. It's got the brilliant Sir Duke on there, the tribute to Duke Ellington, fantastic. I Wish, the sugary Isn't She Lovely, but it's a bit, it's mainly love songs on this one, and quite a lot of different styles spread across 4 sides of vinyl. So a great, one of his classics, my number 5 from 1976. My number 4, Bob Dylan, Desire. I think I had last year in 75 or 4, I had Blood on the Track 75 as my number 1 album. Fantastic album. This one's very different. It's got a very different feel from that one. The sound's very different. It's got a sort of violin up front, a different sounding band altogether. And where Blood on the Tracks was very personal and introspective, this one is much more storytelling, a whole wide range of different stories, and Dylan does that sort of stuff brilliantly. So songs like Hurricane, Mozambique, Isis, Sarah, great stuff. Lovely album. My number 4, Bob Dylan, Desire. My number 3 from 1976, this is Cooder, Chicken Skin Music. I mean, obviously I've never met Cooder. Not only that, I really don't know much about the guy at all. I've never read any books or any biographies or anything like that of Cooder, but he just always seems to me that he must be one of the most genuine, generous and gifted musicians to come out of North America. It's just everything he touches is absolutely beautiful, heartfelt, moving. This is an album full of covers, a couple by Lead Belly, Benny King, a whole load of others, and he uses some Hawaiian folk musicians and some sort of folky sort of styles with it, but it's just absolutely gorgeous on the ears. It's brilliant stuff. My number 3, Cooder, Chicken Skin Music. My number 2, one of my favourite artists of all time. This is the Modern Lovers, which of course was the band of Jonathan Richman. This is their debut album, Modern Lovers. Kicks off with their biggest ever hit single, Roadrunner. And yeah, this again, it's called proto-punk. I mean, it's the Jonathan Richman was a huge Velvet Underground fan. You can hear the Velvet Underground sort of droney style in this, alongside where the Velvet Underground sang about dark sort of subjects, you know, drugs and sex and breakdowns, and Richman sings about the nice things in life, and he does it with a very naive sort of style, but again, very, very genuinely, authentically. I've seen him a few times. I just absolutely love Jonathan Richman. I mean, this album actually was produced by John Cale about 3 years before it was released, which makes it even more proto-punk, I think, and even more fantastic probably. But yeah, one of my favourite albums of all time, and I've got it number 2 on my list for 1976, Modern Lovers. My number 1 then, well, what could beat that? Well, this is an album some of you might not be familiar with, and when I say North America, I'm including the Caribbean in that. I hope they'll forgive my geographical liberties I'm taking here. But this is Right Time by the Mighty Diamonds, from Jamaica, roots reggae band. I'm not sure where this was was this their first album? But this is an album. What can I say about it? It's urgent, it's political, it's socially conscious. The lyrics are just absolutely relevant. They seem as relevant today as they did back in 1976. It's heavy stuff, but delivered so sweetly by one of the most expressive voices in roots reggae, Tabby Sharp. Donald Sharp, I think his nickname was Tabby. He was the lead singer along with his 2 harmony colleagues, Bunny Simpson and Lloyd Ferguson. And this is just absolutely gorgeous stuff. It stands up there for me as one of the greatest reggae albums of all time. Gorgeous stuff. I mean, sadly, the leader of this group, Tabby Sharp, was killed, shot dead in some sort of drive-by shooting in Jamaica just last year, I think. But this is absolutely fantastic. If you've not come across these, and I don't know if some people don't get into reggae, they maybe don't get past Bob Marley, but this is definitely worth a look at, definitely worth a listen. Brilliant. I think it's my favourite album anyway from 1976, The Mighty Diamonds, Right Time. Okay, cheers. Well, thanks for watching. I hope the light's better than I'm sorry about the sun ruining the last one. It kept coming in and out and one thing or another. I'm doing this in an evening, so with just the house lights on, so hopefully that's okay. And I'll catch you next time where we'll look at 76, Britain and Europe. Cheers.